limit. So about Instagram, I have to say that it makes me feel a little old. I will try to explain to you why. I was on the internet when nobody cared about in university in 1994. And at the time, I said, what is this, an email? But what is it useful? Well, it's you were not born maybe at the time, or well. So there was this internet 2.0 when I don't know when Instagram started, 7 years ago, 8 years ago maybe. I don't remember. Well, and Facebook and maybe a lot of social media right now. And really, I feel more and more overwhelmed by all this different type of producing content. You have the pictures, you have the stories, you have the reel, you have the IGTV, and every social media want to have its own way of broadcasting.
You're definitely not the only one who is overwhelmed, because that's the same for me as well.
Okay, so I'm kind of reassured, but I feel like, and this is an issue that you mentioned in some of your posts, I feel this is one of the causes that is responsible for some form of burnout.
Yes.
And some people between 18 and 25, we didn't mention your age, but you are younger than I am. So I feel it's absolutely unbearable for me to see that people that are in their 20s are already burning out because of that. So I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts and feeling about this? Because I think this is a major issue. Just to mention that, because this content production has to be some sort of duty, or becoming mandatory. Otherwise, it seems that you disappear for the algorithm, or
yes, that is the heart crushing thing, that you can't allow yourself to disappear, not even for a little bit, because if you do, then it's like people are not gonna remember you if you're gone for a month. It's really, it is overwhelming, as you said, because there are even these videos on YouTube that you can see where there are people like explaining how to crack down the Instagram algorithm, how to gain followers, and each one of those explanations is like, you're gonna post 1 post per day, 1 reel per day, 1 IGTV, like 10 stories. And whenever I hear that, I'm just like, so when do you live exactly? Like, when is the life happening? So it's insane, because at the end of the day, if you put yourself under that sort of pressure that is gonna get you the follower numbers or whatever, you're gonna, either your content is gonna get really bad because nobody can produce high quality content at that kind of speed, or either you're just gonna burn out and you're not gonna be able to do anything at all, which is, there's no way that you can win. So I think when it comes to that, you just have to kind of tell yourself that the people who really care about your work are gonna be there, are gonna find you, and are gonna support you, because that's how it is. Like for me as well, like my recent experience with Instagram was that I felt really burnt out, and I had my university work, which was like insane, and I was up to my neck with the things that I needed to do. And I couldn't post anything for like a month approximately, or a month and a half, or something like that. And I lost like 3,500 followers just because I didn't do anything.
Oh.
And I saw that, and I was like, all right. And that creates a feeling for you that you don't even want to go on your platform anymore, because you don't want to see that number like dropping every time, like as you log in. So it's like the first time that happened to me, it was like I was really like, I didn't know what to do. Like right now I'm kind of more used to it, and I can see that there are there is a certain number of people who are there and who comment and who say supportive things to me when like whatever happens. So I'm like, oh, all right, okay, I'm good. So, and also I think that media creates this false kind of narrative that all these people who follow you actually see your work or they are interested in what you do, which is not true at all. You kind of have to see what is your like ratio between the likes that you get and the followers that you have or something like that. So yeah, those numbers can be really misleading. I think what matters is really like how much heart these people put into it, and and how much they really care, because it doesn't take a lot of strength to just push a follow button and then never care about that person again.
Yes,
so
and it raises the question on what is the credibility about the true advertising power of such platforms, because every brand is fighting for some clicks and hoping and well, more or less you already answered, but what kind of advice you would give to photographers or digital artists that wants to use these platforms based on your experience?
I would say use the platform for building connections with other people in the industry, because that's ultimately what also can help you with exposure and with followers. Because I remember when I started out, I didn't do it on purpose. Like I wasn't like talking to people just to get exposure, but I just talked to some artists who I admired and I thought their work was really nice, and I just like chatted with them, and then they, gave me a shout out on their story, or they would, promote my work to their followers. And it was just like it created like a sense of community almost. Like you can really feel that this little like field of artists who care about each other and care if the other one is succeeding. And there have been really nice moments. I remember there was one of my artist's friends who she had like over 100,000 followers, I think, on Instagram, and her account got hacked and it got taken down, and she had to start everything from scratch. Like she had to make a new account, and all of these followers and friends were gone. So she would just DM her friends, her artist friends, and all of them, we gave her like shout outs on our pages. So all these people, like the followers that we had in common, they knew that she has a new account now and followed her again. So it's like, I thought that was really sweet.
So maybe this is too personal question, but it seems that you have a special interest for Korea.
Yes, I do. Yeah. That kind of started, actually, I think in a few weeks it will be exactly 5 years ago. Okay. But yeah, I just stumbled upon Korean drama. It's called K-dramas for short, and it was called Descendants of the Sun. It was the English name of it. And I watched it and I was like completely blown away by how different it was from everything that I've ever seen before, but at the same time how like deeply familiar some of it felt to me, which was shocking because it's a completely different culture, but there was something that was so close to my heart in it that I just kind of jumped and now I can't get out.
How familiar? Why if you can tell us?
I think the way that I kind of think about it was that kind of my understanding of what relationships and love and friendships were kind of built on this foundation of 19th century English novels. And that was kind of where I came from, and I was like, okay, this is how this is supposed to be. Don't try to like tell me anything else. So that's kind of what I felt was right. But then, of course, as you really grow up and you start to watch like more American television, for example, you see quite quickly that there is like, you know, nobody's gonna walk towards you in a mist or something like that. So
Okay.
so you're just like, oh, well, that's a bummer. but but I think with K-dramas there is this level of like fragileness and kind of tenderness in relationships that has disappeared a bit in the West, but it's still existent there. And I was really surprised to find that it's still a thing somewhere. So
Not for Frenchmen of the old school.
that's maybe, but at least in my experience, that's kind of it was a really there was a great difference in what I saw on Western television on the one from Korea. But obviously, you know, I have to keep in mind it's still television in both of those places. So
Yeah, but it says something about
Yeah.
about a culture. Yes, it can. You it's also, I notice on your profile, not only personal but your art profile, that you give a lot of you care a lot about minorities, women rights. It's well, if I'm not wrong, but
yeah.
it's you feel that it's really something that is crucial, or more than some other issues you want to emphasize, stress this?
I would say that there are so many things that we have kind of that hasn't come to our attention yet, and there are so many people who can't get their stories out loudly enough and who really need to be heard. And especially with minorities, I think for me that's kind of, there's another like personal layer with it for me, because I have a disability which kind of puts me in the minority category, as I would say it. But I mean, I don't really care about the labels, but the fact is that I have faced some sort of you know, dirty stares from society because of the way that I am. So I think I can empathize a lot more with minorities and with people's rights and stuff like that, because whenever I hear that somebody is being treated unfairly just because of the way that they are and they're born and they're existing, it's just like it, like, you know, yeah, it like pushes all my buttons, and I have to yell that that's not great. But yeah, so that's kind of why I think it's important for me, because I really wished that, like, right now there are people on social media who have like similar conditions that I have, and who are kind of showing themselves proudly, and they're proud of who they are, and they don't try to hide anything. When I was growing up, all I heard was like, oh, you have to hide this, because if you don't, nobody's gonna ever like you. So I always think like, oh, I would have been so happy if there was somebody like that when I was growing up, you know. It would have helped me so much. So I'm so glad that right now I can see on the internet there are people who bring awareness to it, and they have all of this body positivity culture coming up. So that makes me really happy. Of course, as long as it doesn't get toxic, because positivity can get toxic as well. So
I agree with that. So yeah, and so this is a very interesting argument you are making, claiming that this fight against isolation or loneliness is calls this free speech on social media. That's interesting. I never think of this problem that way. Okay.
because I think it's like we grow attached to the things that we see, and all of us, we have a really unique Instagram feeds, because the algorithm offers us what we want to see. That's how it's built. And for example, if I were to look at your Instagram feed, I would probably see things that I would never see on my own. So it's built by person, and our beliefs, especially with this generation who have like me, who has grown up with the internet already existing, a lot of our beliefs and things that we think are right, it just comes from the information that we consume day to day, just scrolling through our phones, and it becomes really ingrained in us. And before that, it was our parents, telling us, "Oh, this is okay," or it was our friend group. Right now, it's mostly internet, especially maybe with people who are a bit younger than me, like Gen Z, and what you see there, it becomes the reality for you. And if we can create this space where everybody is accepted, and that's what we see every day when we go on Instagram or on Twitter or something, then that's the mindset that we're gonna grow up with. It's gonna come naturally, because nobody is born hating. That's taught. We kind of, the world makes us do that if we see that's coming at us, and if we create this positive space where we just allow people to exist the way that they are, then it's going to become the norm. And I really hope that I'm gonna be around to see that really happen. So
yes, that's the main issue, but that's also the influence is also in about hoax and conspiracy theories and the use, and it's we are in Latvia. You are Latvian, and it's singing in choirs is part of the culture. So maybe you did.
I did, yeah. I was singing in a school choir when I was in middle school and primary school.
Yeah, and it turns out South Korean seems to be very fond of Latvian choirs, according to what I know. It's so you didn't choose music as a way to express yourself artistically. Maybe I'm wrong.
I've always been really fond of music. I play guitar a little bit, and I've written a few songs, but it's not really. I think for me, music, I really love listening to it, and I love singing. But when it comes to creative expression through actually writing lyrics and writing music, I find that I need to be in a really dark place to do that. Like, I need to be really, really sad. Like, I need to be so sad that I can't draw it out. I can't make a drawing out of it, and then I write music. So it's, unless I kind of teach myself to be able to write it without the tragedy under it, it's probably going to be something that's a bit, yeah. But
so next time you make a post where you are playing and creating music, I will start to worry. Okay, but so there is this. I want to ask other people this same question, but there is a big diaspora of Latvian people in Canada, in United States, in Australia, in a lot of places. What would you? This is a tough question, but how would you define the Latvian identity? What is it to be Latvian?
I think for me, it would be just the not pretentiousness, I would say. Because I have noticed that when I go abroad, people tend to be a lot more friendly and open, and all of these things are great, but the thing is that sometimes they're friendly and open with you even when they don't like you. And with Latvian people, I think they don't really try to hide things behind smiling too much. That's why I think a lot of foreigners tend to think that we're angry and that we're bitter and sad about things all the time. But I've heard that. But yeah, I think just Yeah, as an introvert myself, I can say that it's like Latvia really is the nation of introverts. Like I can kind of feel a bit more at peace while I'm at here than anywhere else because there will be a lot more people like me in Latvia. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting answer. Okay. So thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you for having me.
Thank-
It's been really lovely.